Hello all, Alison here. Welcome back to another episode of Books, Books, Books. And for this one, we really are diving back down the years. I made this little tag book in 2012, October 2012. So it's 12 years ago now. I'm filming this in September 2024. And it was right near the beginning of my crafting journey. I only started sort of earlier that year playing with things, but I think you'll see that some of my obsessions took hold quite early on. So this rusted corrugated cardboard cover, created with what I had at the time, various paints, some embossing powders, anything to get myself, I don't know if you can hear that, it's still one of the best rusty covers I've ever made. It really does look like rusted metal. So yeah, that was right back at the beginning. The title has faded somewhat, partly because I think this was craft paper that I used, rice paper. What did it call itself? It'll come to me, maybe. The book page fragment, there's some rusty mesh, wire mesh behind there, and then stamped on here with one of my little alphabet sets, which were an obsession of mine right at the beginning, stamped in sepia archival. So I think the ink has stayed, but the paper has got darker, is what's happened. And you probably can't read that, but I know that it says Sonnet fragments, because what I created in here was what in my blog post, which I will link down below if you want to go and visit that blog post from October 2012. This is a sonnet mashup. So it's two of Shakespeare's sonnets, a few lines from one and a few lines from another that sort of are in conversation with one another. And it was inspired by a show I was working on at the time at the Royal Shakespeare Company called A Tender Thing, which was a beautiful sort of mashup in itself. The words of Romeo and Juliet, or many of the words of Romeo and Juliet, but spoken in the mouths of much older actors who were coming to the end of a long love affair and one of them dying. I mean, just one of the most profoundly moving creations I think I've ever worked on. And as well as the language from Shakespeare's Romeo and Juliet, the writer had included words from these two sonnets, and you'll sort of see what they are when they come. And so inspired by that, I just got out all the autumnal colours that I could and all the autumnal stamps that I had at the time. There's a few Tim Holtz ones because that's what I started with. Those birds are Tim Holtz. There are various others that were just cheap clear stamps that I got along the way. Those are Tim Holtz leaves in there. Anything I can still track down, I will try to link below, but I can't make any promises. That's a Tim Holtz stamp. This is Artistic Outpost. I was on the design team for Artistic Outpost. That no longer exists as a stamp company as it was. But yeah, they were important to me. And as you can see all the way through, I've used the little alphabet stamp set, the ones you can pick up for sort of $1. I'm just seeing if I can reach one to show you. Just those little sets of wooden pegs. If you hold on just there, I'll be back to show you what I mean in just a second. So, as if by magic, some alphabet stamps appeared. So it's just these, the little wooden stamps. You ink and stamp, ink and stamp, ink and stamp. The words in the letters in the order you need them for the words. And it's best to embrace imperfection because you're never going to get them in a straight line. There are all sorts of clever systems now that you can spend lots of money on where you can click letters together and stamp a whole word at a time, but I sort of still prefer the old-fashioned version, I think. So let's take a look through these sonnets. The two sonnets involved are Sonnet 73 and Sonnet 104. Sonnet 73 is sort of the first part of the book. Sonnet 104 starts when you see this young woman. And of course, it's not the full 14 lines of the sonnet. It's a part of 73 and then a part of 104. So yes, along with all these autumnal leaves from that particular time of year, hanging on the boughs. And then we move into what it is to grow old with somebody but still see the same beauty in them. So I'll read you through what we've got on our pages and you can just enjoy the autumnal imagery and Shakespeare's words. that time of year thou mayst in me behold, when yellow leaves, or none, or few, do hang upon those boughs that shake against the cold. There ruined choirs, where once the sweet birds sang. To me, fair friend, you never can be old, for as you were when first your eye I eyed, such seems your beauty still. So it's just such a lovely conversation between the one saying, I'm old, you can see, look at me, I've got hardly any leaves left on my frozen boughs and I'm shaking in the cold. I used to be, so young and fresh and sing and full of joy. And then the answer, you'll never be old to me. You look just the same as you did. And this bit of wordplay here, so I've flagged that up with the stamp there. When first your eye I eyed, when I first looked in your eyes. It's just a wonderful I, that sound of lamentation, but also love. So that's my sonnet mashup, the sonnet fragments inside their rusty autumnal tag book. I hope you've enjoyed that little trip into the earliest possible days of my crafting, and still very much deep in the process of working with Shakespeare at the time. Thanks so much for watching. If you've enjoyed this, do give me a thumbs up. Any comments or questions down below. It's always great to hear from you. And if you haven't subscribed to the channel, I hope maybe you'll be inspired to do that. Thanks so much for watching, and happy crafting all.